All right, everybody. Good Sunday morning. What is going on, everybody? We've got plenty of stuff to talk about for the next few weeks. We got plenty of things to dissect, plenty of stuff to pull apart. But obviously, I think we all need to take a little bit of time to decompress and settle ourselves after a very interesting trio of days. So I'm not going to get too deep into anything today. I'm not going to start a prospect deep dive on any of these players for probably at least a few days. But rest assured that it is coming. So if you want to know my really in-depth thoughts on these players, then just buckle up. It'll come. But the 2025 NFL draft is over. UDFA, I mean, it's still going on, but obviously the initial waves are concluded. For the most part, the players that are really interesting have already signed somewhere. Whatever it was that the Seahawks were prioritizing is either done or was taken care of by another team. So we pretty much know what's good. We pretty much know what's up here with the Seattle Seahawks. And it was a polarizing couple our trio of days. It was a polarizing set of draft picks, and there are a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of people who feel one way about things. There's a lot of people who feel another way about things. This isn't 2022. 2022, pretty much every Seahawks fan liked that draft class a lot. This is a little bit more on the could go one way or the other side of things. So I don't have a problem with disagreements in this fan base, but it's yet another thing that we can disagree with each other about. So it's going to be an interesting offseason, and quite honestly, it's going to be an interesting few years because we're not going to really know for a little bit, especially with some of these picks. So I'm going to talk about this draft class broadly, and I'm going to try to make sure that I'm putting everything in the proper context. I'm going to try to really seek to not just evaluate each pick individually, but try to evaluate the draft class as a whole and figure out how to really feel about it. Because if you guys were watching the streams over the last few days, you guys know that I had a mixed reaction to this draft class. There was some stuff I thought was fantastic, some stuff I thought was great, but there was also some stuff that I'm not really feeling. I'm not really getting. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but I feel like you could have done better. And that's really what I have to come back to. The team doesn't have to do exactly what I want them to do at all times, but I would like them to do things that I think are good. I would like them to do things that I believe will work, even if they may not work as well as other things. I want to at least be able to look at this and go, I think that this is something that will work. And with some of this stuff, I don't believe it'll work. That doesn't mean it can't work. That doesn't mean it won't work. But for me, personally, there's some stuff here that is not really going to work all that well. So let's just go through the picks, not one by one. I've done that a couple times already. I did that on the Bleacher Report last night. I'm going to be doing that going forward. So looking at this draft class, one thing that I do like about this, now that we get to really step back and take a look at the broader implications, this draft class does fulfill one thing that I wanted to be fulfilled in 2025's draft, and that is the team drafted for the imminent future, not the present. I don't want to say distant future. You never really draft for the distant future. This is a draft for the long term. This is not a draft that tries to make this team some kind of contender in 2025. This is not a draft that is trying to, oh, we just need to get this one player and we're good to go. Or, oh, we need to get this specific guy because we just think this is the missing piece for us to win the Super Bowl. I would go so far as to say a lot of these players are not going to move the needle in their rookie seasons. And I think that that's actually the right strategy for this team to take, because I'm not thinking that hard about 2025. If we're good in 2025, that's awesome. But when I look at these picks, I don't see a lot of things that are going to make a big impact in 2025. Maybe Gray Zabel is an exception to that. Maybe Torrey Horton is an exception to that. But look, Gray Zabel, he played at North Dakota State. There's probably going to be a learning curve for him going into the NFL. He's also going to be moving inside. He's going to be playing guard or center. And for the most part, he was a tackle in college. So maybe he can be as good or a little bit better than Laken Tomlinson if he plays left guard. But I don't think that rookie Gray Zabel is going to be better than Oluwatimi. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Oluwatimi, but Oluwatimi's a much older player with some veteran experience. So I don't think there's an improvement. So I'm not really looking at Zabel and going, okay, we're saved now. We're good. I'm thinking he's going to go out there in his rookie year. He's going to get beat up a little bit. He's going to struggle. He's going to have problems. But going into 2026, 2027, 2028, we should have something really good. Maybe he'll be really good at left guard. Maybe he'll be really good at center. Who knows? But the point I'm trying to make is that the team didn't really make themselves better imminently with the Gray Zabel pick. I don't think it's reasonable to expect Zabel to be a big upgrade over what we had last year at left guard or center. And I say that knowing that guys like Laken Tomlinson and Oluwatimi were very, very flawed, but expect flaws with Zabel too. He's a rookie making a significant transition. Certainly, I think that's probably going to be the case with Nick Emenwori. Emenwori is a player who can do a lot of different things on a football field, I think. He can do some box safety. He can do some deep safety, center field robber. He can play some corner. He can play slot corner. He can play outside corner. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there. But how much is he going to get on the field as a rookie? That's a little bit harder to determine. You've got Julian Love. You've got Kobe Bryant. So those are your two starting safeties for the moment. Is Emenwori going to be able to crack that starting lineup? I don't know. Is he going to be able to beat out Devin Witherspoon as a slot corner and then relegate Witherspoon to the outside only? Who knows? Is Emenwori going to do outside corner stuff and maybe allow Witherspoon to play slot full-time when we're in nickel? And maybe that'll be your cornerback trio. I don't know. But there's no obvious and guaranteed path for Emenwori to play massive snaps as a rookie. That's a guy who you might work on in a minimal role as a rookie, and then in 2026, Kobe Bryant is probably gone in free agency. Julian Love might be gone. Woolen is almost certainly going to be gone. There's going to be an opportunity for Emenwori to take on a big role then and be a big-time impact player. So, again, the imminent future more so than the present. Of course, that is very much big time the case with a guy like Jalen Milroe, who may not see the field in a meaningful capacity for 2 years. You might not see Jalen Milroe do anything but do gadget play stuff for 2025 and 2026. So, I'm not, you guys know how I feel about Jalen Milroe, and I refuse to apologize for that. I refuse to take back anything I said just because he's now a Seahawk, but it's for the future. Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback for the Seahawks in 2025, and I believe the plan is for Darnold to be the starting quarterback in 2026. Maybe it doesn't happen, but I do believe that Milroe is going to be on the bench regardless. I don't think it behooves him to play significant quarterback snaps these next 2 years. He has so much to learn. That is definitely a pick for the coming years. Arroyo, I'm not so sure about. I don't know what Arroyo is going to be this year because I don't know what's going to happen to Noah Fant. Maybe that's another pick where maybe you see some immediate improvements over what we have. But we're talking about a rookie tight end who only had 1 year of big production in college. To me, I look at Elijah Arroyo and I ask myself, is he going to be better than A.J. Barner is going to be this year? Probably not. A.J. Barner has a year of NFL experience, A.J. Barner's a better blocker, and A.J. Barner played well last year. So even if Fant is gone, which at this point I think is probably the best thing to do, I still look at Arroyo and I go, you're probably a backup. Now, you might be a backup that sees the field a lot, but what if we keep Fant? If we keep Fant, then Arroyo's your third string tight end, and he doesn't really have a lot to do. Riley Mills, definitely not a pick for the present because he's hurt. Even if he rehabs and gets ready for the season, how much is he going to play? You've got Leonard Williams, you've got Byron Murphy, you've got Jaron Reed. There's not a lot of reps for him to get in that in that depth chart. So that is definitely a pick for 2026 and beyond. I do think that Torrey Horton has a chance to play a non-trivial role. It really depends on his ability to play outside. If he proves that he can succeed as an outside NFL receiver, somebody who can play on the boundary, which could go one way or the other, we'll talk more about that in the future, I think he could play a significant role as a rookie. If not, and he's only a slot guy, then you're talking about him trying to get snaps with JSN and Cooper Kupp on the team. That's going to be hard. And everybody after those picks, Robbie Outs, Bryce Cabledew, Damian Martinez, Mason Richmond, Ricky White, maybe one of them makes a non-trivial contribution as a rookie, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect 6th and 7th round picks to do a lot in that first year. I mean, guys like Tariq Woolen are very special because they make big impact plays as a rookie coming in the 5th round or later. So maybe Outs will get on the field a decent amount because we need a fullback and we seem to think of him as a fullback. But again, how much impact are you really going to have? So looking at this draft pick as a whole, that's one thing that I can take away from this that I wasn't really able to see in the moment because I don't know what the ultimate draft class is going to look like until it's actually done. But I do think the team captured the essence of the overall mission fairly well in terms of getting guys that are trying to set this team up for long-term success. I'm just not a big fan of some of these players, especially Jalen Milroe. And there is... a lot of people have said this draft class is all about the upside. A lot of people have said this draft class is all about getting guys who have a chance to be really phenomenal, but also have a chance to really crash and burn. And I think there's some validity to that, but everybody's going to have their own takes on who is likely going to achieve their potential and who is likely to crash and burn. And from my perspective, looking at this draft class, there's a pretty decent amount of crash and burn potential. I even think that Zabel falls under this umbrella, and a lot of people don't agree with me. I think Gray Zabel has immense potential. I also think he could really just not be much of anything at all. A lot of people have characterized him as a low ceiling but high floor guy. I actually like the ceiling, and I don't know if I trust the floor. So, I mean, again, Zabel I'm fine with. I'm not really criticizing the Gray Zabel pick that much. I do think there were a couple things you could have done at that pick that were better, but I don't think what you did is bad, especially given the way the draft fell. By the way, I just realized that they messed up the formatting on this page. We did not pick at 50 twice. Amusing. But anyway, so that's one thing I can say. I think the team was not chasing... oh, we're one player away from this great outcome in 2025. I think there are things they could have done that maybe would have indicated that's how they were thinking, and I think that would have been a mistake. And I think that they have gotten a couple of long-term starters on this team. Zabel should be a long-term starter on this team. Eminwari should certainly be a long-time starter on this team. And we got some other guys here that have a chance. So if you want some positivity from me today, I do think the Seahawks at least aimed for that. Will they hit it? We're not going to know for a while. It's going to be years before we know. And that it's going to be a tough few years. I mean, we're going to just have to kind of speculate on some of this stuff. But, hey, big picture, okay. But the devil is in the details. We'll talk more about the details in the coming days. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Have a great day.